Welcome back to Reading Bear. Today, we will take a look at some new malicious compliance stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
First one is titled, What Do You Mean? I ran that cable exactly as you asked. I wanted to share this story here since this happened just not long ago this week. To set the stage here, I am a network administrator at a food processing plant. Yep, we back at it again here, and a lot of the stuff we cover can stem from providing end-user support, some server management, to running, terminating cabling. Between myself and my partner in crime, there's a lot we have to cover, and along with that, a lot of shenanigans that I've shared with you all here on this subreddit. So this all started about a couple of weeks back when one of the managers I run across spoke with Bossman about getting an IP conference phone installed in his office. It's the kind of IP phone that has a large speaker integrated with a dial pad and screen. Napoleon, as I like to call him for reasons you'll see shortly, had ordered said phone and had arrived this past Monday. When he reached out to me about needing it installed, it was late in the day at that point, so I responded back that I'd be in his neck of the woods first thing tomorrow to take care of it. Everything all fine and dandy, right? Well, I thought so too, but since it's Napoleon I'm dealing with, I had to tread carefully since he's the kind of guy where if one little thing doesn't go his way, he pitches what I call a professional fit. So the morning came and I was there at Napoleon's office, ready to get his phone out the way. Right off the bat, however, I encountered one glaring problem. Napoleon wanted the IP phone in his office and nowhere else. Problem is, he only has one available Cat 6 drop and that's already being used by his other IP phone and doesn't want to give that up either. So knowing what I may be expecting from him, the following conversation happened. Napoleon, I may not be able to have this phone installed in your office. What? How do you figure that? Because since you want it in your office, there are no currently available network drops to connect the phone to. Grumbles a bit. You sure about that? I took a quick scan of the room to make sure for his sake and saw the one drop behind his desk. Yes, you only have one drop to your desk, so at this time I can't install it for you since it requires an Ethernet cable to operate. Well, you're gonna have to find a way for me to get this up and running somehow. The only two options I can see is either relocating the phone to get it installed there instead, or to have a quote made to have another network line pulled to your office. Well, I know the last time we had that happened it easily cost over $1,000 and I don't wanna pay for that. Well sir, I don't know what else to do at the moment since you're not willing to move the phone elsewhere nor do you want to entertain the idea to pay for a line to be installed. Well, can't you do it, op? If the switch was within a reasonable distance for me to run a cable, yes I would. However, due to the location of the nearest switch, it wouldn't be feasible for me to do so and would instead need contractors to run it instead. At this point, it's clear that Napoleon didn't want to compromise, and that I've exhausted what means I could try to smooth the situation better. So I called in the big guns. Excusing myself for a moment, I called up Bossman. What's up, op? Hey Bossman, so I'm here at Napoleon's office trying to install his phone but we ran into a problem. What kind of problem? So he wants the phone in his office, doesn't want it anywhere else. Problem is, he only has one drop and that's already being used of course. Well, go ahead and quote him a drop. I would, but he's already said right off the bat that he won't pay to have one put in. Well, I guess he's up a creek without a paddle if he's not willing to budge. I hear you, but what do you want me to do at this point? Let him know you'll be heading back to the main plant for now and I'll talk with him myself. Me and Bossman had already had some history dealing with Napoleon, a short man with a big ego and ain't afraid to say that either I'm in the wrong or that he's not satisfied with my justified answer. Bossman called me back a little later on once I made it back to my office. It was a struggle hearing Napoleon complain, but we worked out the best idea I could come up with. What's that? Basically you're gonna take one of the vacant lines from the front of the office, pull it, and run it back to his. Alright, but what about the desk situation since he still wants it sitting there? At this point, Bossman did let off a chuckle. B. The way I interpret it, dude, Napoleon just wants it done somehow, never mind the mess or how the cable is ran. If he doesn't wanna play ball with standards, be sure to deliver exactly what he asked for. The normal procedure we would typically do when running cable is make sure it's fed up in the ceiling, free of any debris on the floor, desk, that it's ran down a conduit pipe to a junction box, terminated up to a jack, and then have a patch cord be funneled to the final spot. Now, since Napoleon told Bossman he just wants it done and doesn't care how it's handled, that's all I needed to hear. The following morning, I came up there, tools at the ready and a one-track mind to get this job done. By removing the faceplate and severing the cable from the jack, I fed it up the ceiling. I will also go on record to say there was a lot of debris for how long those tiles have been there. By the end of it, I had to go change shirts. An hour went by and ultimately the cable was ran back with a custom Cat6 cord connected to said jack since the original came up short. When the finale came and the cable reached Napoleon's office, I couldn't deny having the biggest poo-eating grin on my face. Exactly as he requested, I simply let the cable drop from the ceiling right by his desk, funneling it behind his desk towards the spot where he wanted the phone, terminated it with the RJ45 and verified that works. After programming his new toy, I proceeded to be on my way. I did forget to mention that whole time, Napoleon wasn't even there, so that made the experience even better. I had gotten a call from Bossman right as I was about to wrap up for the day and just couldn't help but laugh. B. Dude, so Napoleon called me, raising a fuss about how unprofessional your job was. Me, oh really now? I chuckled right off the bat here. B. Yep, he sent me a picture of how the cable looks and mentioned how garbage it's ran and that it looks cheap. Me, well that's what he wanted in the end, so I delivered. B. Oh no, I agree, which is why I told him that this reason here is why we keep to the standard and nothing else, but that you delivered the job exactly as he requested. Bossman went on to say that if he wants it done proper, that it'll be $1,024.82. Thank you all for staying with me on this journey and hope you all have a lovely day. Edit. So I've been getting a lot of people in the comments asking why wasn't adding a 4-port hub switch an option. To put it simply, it's not something my company's IT division likes to entertain, so I never bring it up. While I'd have loved to have one tucked away, Bossman doesn't want one ever added unless it's critical. His situation wasn't, so he doesn't qualify. I hope this answers those questions with some satisfaction. Next one is titled, This Soup is Cold. So this was a few years ago when I was a chef working in what was a fancy golf club for wealthy people. You really got a very assorted bunch of people coming into the club and every so often an absolute weapon. I was working in one of the smaller kitchen on my own doing bar food and snacks for the members, and it was a particularly busy day and I was flat out. One of the tables was booked for a group of 4 looking for a ladies' lunch. The first of the women arrive and orders a soup as the waitress tells me that she's starving. I put it on, am finishing off some of the other checks I had on, see it's starting to boil, pour it in a bowl and send it. Waitress brings it back minutes later saying that the customer isn't happy and that it's cold. I'm sitting there thinking, strange, I really thought I had that at a boil. Heat it again and send it out, and the waitress literally bounced straight back to me with the bowl in hand saying she's saying that the soup is cold. It's an open kitchen and I look over to see this woman in her late 60s who's still alone at the table with this look of disdain on her face, like I was the help and had ruined her day by existing. Now if you've worked in the service industry you know Karens are everywhere, and I've always been of the approach of deflect and give them what they want. Now I put the soup back on and get it to a racing boil, grab a bowl from the bottom of the hot press and have the waitress standing there waiting so it's served and straight out. The poor waitress comes back minutes later with, I'm so sorry, she's saying that the soup is cold. I glance over and see that she's still sitting there with this look in her face. Now I'm starting to get pretty upset. It's not like dealing with this woman was the only thing I had on either. It's the middle of a busy lunch rush with loads of orders coming in, and this is ducking up any flow I am getting going. So I put more soup on. This time I've got it on the hottest hob. I've also banged a soup bowl into the oven and cranked it up to 300 degrees. Once the soup has been at a racing boil for a couple minutes, I pull the bowl and it's like lava. Pour the soup in and it's so hot it's still boiling in the heat of the bowl as the waitress takes it to the table. Now the other guests on the booking have arrived and they're all sitting there chatting away, and she, without even looking at the bowl, picks up a spoon and goes for it. As soon as the soup hits her tongue, she lets out the most almighty scream, and it's carnage, people running all over the place with ice and cold water. She's throwing a fit that I've tried to kill her with soup. When the dust starts to settle, taken to the general manager's office and am getting hell, I ask them to grab the waitress I've been working with and get her to tell them what happened. She backs me up the whole way and ended up just getting a "Don't be smart and don't try to kill any more members, please." That is the one and only time in a 12-year career in some very good establishments I have ever ducked with someone's food. Next one is titled, "Give Well in Advance Notice for Vacation." You got it. Background. I had graduated with a master's in engineering degree in the USA. As an international student, I had 90 days to find a job or leave the country. So when I received my first job offer, the only in 2 months, I was very excited and took it to stop the 90-day countdown. This job was paid minimum wage and was several levels below my qualifications as a master's degree holder. During this job, which I had for about 9 months, a few of my vacation requests were denied with the reason given, not enough notice. As this company relied on having inspectors available for emergency projects, the company relied on keeping inspectors employed without pay till a project was called in by a client. They would have an inspectors at home without pay rather than them being on vacation. I needed vacation, it was month of October, to celebrate my girlfriend's birthday. This time I had wised up and asked for vacation 1.5 weeks earlier. The week I needed vacation, I followed up with my supervisor. He checked with the project manager, who proceeded to tell me the request was denied as I didn't give enough notice and also didn't follow up earlier so they could make arrangements for my replacement. I didn't get the day off to spend with my girlfriend. She was sad but was mostly okay. But to make up for the birthday, we decided to take a long vacation in December, 2 weeks long, to fly to the West Coast. Cue malicious compliance. I filled and sent my December vacation request in October to my supervisor and project manager. I copied the scheduler and couple other supervisors in the area who I was assigned to from time to time. I made sure to follow up every week or two till my December vacation. I hardly got any responses, while some responses said it's still far out and they will check when my vacation comes closer. Being sure my plan would work this time, we booked the flight, car and hotels, Airbnb for our vacation by end of November. December rolls around, I make sure to check verbally and by text message with my supervisors about my vacation request, and to remind them I show them the vacation request and the emails I had sent. All say they will check, but no one came back to me about the same. By this time I had been promoted to team leader and would have a direct line of communication with the project manager when I was acting supervisor. I would casually slip inquiries about my vacation in phone conversations and in emails when it related to my vacation timeframe. December 20th, 2 days before vacation. The company was spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on retraining its entire workforce. They scheduled my training during my vacation. Yes, everyone knew trainings were going on, but you didn't get put on the list till and weren't notified till a few days earlier. I reached out to my project manager and informed him about the vacation I was going to take and couldn't attend the training. He was furious, yelling on the phone that he never received my vacation request and I have no option but to attend the training. To which I say I put the request 2 months in advance and that I even emailed him about the same. He mentions I never followed up and that I cannot take the vacation. I mention the follow-up emails, the texts, the over-the-phone conversations and my follow-ups with other supervisors and the scheduler. He says he will get back with me and hangs up the phone. I immediately open the work laptop and, which I now had as I was promoted, and forward the email conversations. I get a call from the scheduler. He was angry as well and says that never assume a vacation request to be approved only because you submitted it earlier. To which I mention the email from project manager I received in October, which stated, the vacation request needs to be submitted well in advance and needs to be followed up to be granted. He says my chances of getting the vacation are very slim and I should better attend the training as only trained staff will be kept employed. Then he hangs up. I get a call from my project manager about 15 minutes later, who is calm by now, asking me to cancel my vacation. My girlfriend by this point was furious and heartbroken at the same time. I assure her we will be going on this vacation even if it means I have to quit my job. She wasn't thrilled with that either, as this would mean the 90-day counter to get a job would resume and we won't be able to enjoy the vacation. To my project manager, I say canceling my vacation means canceling all the flight bookings and all reservations. He goes back in rage mode, saying how unprofessional I was and that I should have never made reservations till the vacation got approved. In my mind, whatever dude, last-minute reservations cost too much to afford and are never convenient. He says he will call me back. 30 minutes later, he had made arrangements for my training to be in the next class, which was tomorrow, 2 days till vacation. It was a accommodation, food, travel, everything paid training. I agree, go to the training, get paid for 8 hours for both days of training, free food and everything. Training venue is 150 miles away, they pay us 0.45 cents per mile. Come back and go on vacation. During the vacation, I get calls from other schedulers and supervisors to show up at some client, which didn't need to, but I answered, just to get their reactions. Some of them were salty and said they will check with the project manager that I might have to cut my vacation short. I let them know I am across the country and if they are willing to pay for my losses and flight, I would do that. Knowing the company didn't need me that much, I knew they won't go for it. Some of my supervisors told me to enjoy and they would take care of stuff there. I quit in January. Next one is titled, No Swear Words Allowed on a Tombstone? Well, I am a headstone designer. Years ago, a gentleman came to the shop looking to buy a grave marker for himself. He was in good health, just getting his affairs in order. Ordering a headstone pre-need is a good decision for a few reasons, including the fact that you can choose what goes on it. Our client wanted us to engrave something pretty crude. I can't remember the exact phrasing, but it included a F word and would definitely cause some backlash in my small town. The cemetery, not surprisingly, rejected our proposal. I'm willing to engrave whatever my client wants on a stone, but we're constrained by the graveyard's regulation. No inappropriate images or wording should appear on the memorial. Bummer. We found a workaround. We engraved the scandalous epitaph on the bottom side of the stone. That way, nobody had to know what was under there and my customer could read it and laugh for all eternity. Next one is titled, Short Sweet Unionized Compliance. I'm friends with several people who work at the local grocery store. It's got a strong union that doesn't let the corp mess with the employees too much. Store recently got a new director who transferred in from out of state and it's becoming apparent he's never worked in a union store before. Our area was recently hit by a larger than normal amount of snow and as such there were almost no customers for a couple days because the roads were mostly impassable. To try to save money, the director forced employees to go home before their scheduled time off. Most of those employees complied, some were threatened with write-ups when they refused for insubordinate conduct. But those employees who were sent home early, the director is now being forced by the union to pay them every cent they would have earned during their full scheduled shifts for those days. It's in the contract after all, and nearly all of them knew that when they agreed to go home. Last one is titled, Well, They Had to Feed Us the School Lunch. Many moons ago, I was in high school in a small town in the central US. We had an open campus, meaning we could leave for lunch, and a popular lunchtime event was to go to McDonald's in a larger, nearby town. We had a 45-minute lunch period, and in 45 minutes, you could drive to McD's, go through the drive-thru, and stuff your face on the way back. Of course, there was also a school cafeteria. However, this cafeteria wasn't actually at the high school, it was at the middle school, and it served the middle school, the high school, and an elementary school, busing students in to eat their lunch. My senior year, the administration set up a new schedule, and one thing that it did was shorten the lunch period by 5 minutes, maybe not a big deal for some. But the folks that drove to McDonald's? You could do it in 45 minutes. You could not do it in 40. They complained, it fell on deaf ears. So, someone, and I really wish it had been me, came up with a brilliant idea, eat at the school cafeteria. So, suddenly, where about 30% of the high school students ate at the cafeteria, that number nearly doubled. The effect of this was that the elementary school, which ate after the high school, had to stand and wait because the cafeteria's schedule was based on how many students they expected to show up. So we are eating in the cafeteria, and then nearly 100 kindergarteners are just standing outside, waiting to come in. There wasn't anything the cafeteria could do, they just didn't have the capacity for more students. And there wasn't anything the school could do, because they can't tell us not to eat at the cafeteria, they're legally obliged to provide a lunch to the students that want one. It was very effective, and they restructured the high school schedule less than 2 weeks into the year to add those 5 minutes back so that they didn't have dozens of hungry 5-year-olds. Thanks for listening.